Hey everyone, this is Christopher Luxon, the former CEO of Air New Zealand.
This is John Lee Dumas, the founder and host of Entrepreneurs on Fire.
This is Tracy Ibarra. I'm in Executive Solutions at Dell Technologies.
This is Travis Chappell, founder of Build Your Network. If you are wanting to learn how to embrace change,
To navigate through disruption as a leader,
then listen to the Leadership is Changing podcast.
The Leadership is Changing podcast.
the Leadership is Changing podcast with my good friend,
my very good friend, Denis Giannoutsos.
Welcome to Leadership is Changing. Each week, we and our guests provide information and insights through exploring leading change. This is taking your leadership to another level by finding the balance between executive excellence and personal well-being through stories that inspire real change. It's time to adapt in our fast-moving world when leadership is changing with your host, Denis Giannoutsos.
Hey, welcome to the show, Leadership is Changing. What we as leaders know to be true is that change is constant. Leaders everywhere confront similar obstacles because people are people, but everywhere you go, leaders are overwhelmed, disrupted, and under pressure. They run from email to email, meeting to meeting. Many leaders are not changing quick enough, which means they run the risk of becoming irrelevant and being left behind. The purpose of the show is taking our listeners' leadership to another level by finding their balance between executive excellence and personal well-being through stories that inspire real change. I believe we don't have enough effective leaders in the world today, and if we can get the leaders to step up and lead change, then they can inspire real change. Hey listeners, it's now time to adapt in our fast-moving world, and I want to welcome you to today's Ask Denis Freestyle episode. Hey listeners, if you haven't already checked out the Facebook group or the LinkedIn page, Leadership is Changing, come along and join us. We'd love to see you there in those forums, which would be wonderful. So this is the Ask Denis episode. I bring this to you once a week, and this is where I'm asked a question by our listeners, or I share my thoughts, insights, and experiences from working with many leaders around the globe. All right, listeners, today I want to talk to you about getting fit. Some of you may know, and some of you may not know, that I do a lot of executive coaching, and I also do a lot of coaching with people who are in transitioning from their roles, whether it's through a redundancy, a retrenchment, or they've decided that they want to go off and start their own business, or they're wanting to go and get a bigger role or in their organization, or maybe another one. Now, there's a whole process that they need to go through in helping them understand where they're going, what they want to do, and so forth. But there's one thing that I always talk to all of these people that I work with, and that is about being fit, getting fit, and staying fit. Now, what do we mean by that? Well, for a lot of people, they have lost their jobs, or they're wanting to, because of the pandemic and so forth, or there are people who are thinking about doing something else in their career as a result of the pandemic, because the pandemic has put us into lockdowns and they've taken time out to think about their lives. But the one thing about being fit, in fact, match fit is the way I call it, is that it's really, really important. And there's one person in particular that I want to share with you their story about what they did. This person, I'm not going to share their name, of course, but they're in sort of towards their middle age. And where they were at is that they left the organization that they worked with. They were feeling not too great about leaving because it was through a redundancy, a restructure, and they had to leave. But when I was talking with them, there was one thing that I knew and picked up, that this person needed to get fit. They had some time on their hands. And you see, before, what they were doing, they were working very long hours, and they weren't taking time out to look after themselves. So what a grand opportunity to take some time where they've got time on their hands right now to think about where they wanted to go in life, but also get fit so they would feel better in themselves. So this person in particular decided that they didn't want to go to any gym. They didn't want to go and do swimming or biking. They actually just wanted to go what they call hiking. In other words, go for a walk, but up into the hills in different tracks and so forth. What happened, what resulted in that was really something extraordinary. It was fantastic to see them go on that journey. They continued and they committed to do this on a regular basis. Now, for some people, it might be 3 times a week. It might be daily. But this person decided on the repetition, and they decided to be committed to doing it, and they were consistent. And in doing so, what happened is that over a 3-month period, they got very fit. In their words, this is the fittest I've been in my life, which was really amazing to hear. They were really, really fit, and they were feeling fantastic. Out exercising all the time, getting dopamine hits in the brain and actually understanding and feeling good about themselves. But also they started to stand up taller. Their core became stronger. And it was quite interesting to see. Well, they applied for some jobs, and there was one in particular that they applied for. And they asked the person, what have you been doing for this period of time that you haven't been working over the last few weeks, the last 3 months? And the person said, well, I've been preparing for this role. And they said, what do you mean? Well, I've been preparing and getting fit for this role. In fact, I'm the fittest I have ever been in my life. In fact, I feel great. I've got so much energy. It's amazing. A little bit later on in the actual conversation, they turn around and ask the person, we're looking at 2 or 3 others as well, including you. What makes you, or why should we actually hire you? What would be the difference? And this is what the person said. I am the fittest I have been in my life. You see, you could hire other people like me, but they're going to tend to be people who are tired, stressed, both, physically, mentally, and emotionally tired. And that's what you're going to hire. So you're going to bring somebody on board that may not be on top of their game because they're not fit enough. What I have done over the last 3 months is become very fit so then I can prepare for this role. You see, when you employ me, you're employing someone who is very fit, energetic, on their game, and they're going to bring it to the role day one. And I'm ready to go. That's where it's going to be a big difference for you as you bring me on board. Cut a long story short, team, they were hired. And they were told that one of the reasons, outside of the talent, the capability, and the experiences, or the experience that they would bring to the role, was the fact that they were fresh, that they were fit. But it also showed the people who were employing this person that they had discipline and that they were committed to setting a goal and going for it, being disciplined, focused, and being consistent. So the question here for all of you is this. I know that a lot of you are physically, mentally, and emotionally tired. I know that a lot of you haven't been looking after yourself, and there's some that have been looking after yourselves. For those of you who haven't looked after yourselves, what do you think you might want to do over the next 3 months? What are you going to commit to doing to help you become very fit in your life? For those of you who are already fit or are already doing exercise, what are you going to do over the next 3 months and commit to doing to take it to another level? Because you see, team, what you can do is that you can become fitter than you are today. But just imagine what you can bring to your business, to your team, to your organization, and to your role. Just imagine what you could bring if you were a lot fitter. So, what can you do over the next 3 months? How are you going to hold yourself being committed to what you're doing? How will you hold yourself being accountable? What plan would you put in place and what action would you take? And then how consistent would you be? There'll be days where you feel like it's too cold or too hot outside, it's raining, or I'm just really quite tired and I don't want to go and do any exercise. What are you going to do to hold yourself accountable to go out there and be consistent in what you're doing? You see, I just wanted to share the story with you because you see, you can become fitter than what you are today. But just imagine what kind of results you would get. I was so excited for the person I was working with, so excited about where they're going to go with things going forward. But they had a skip in their step, they had energy in their voice, and they knew and know where they are going. Team, where will you be in 3 months' time? Wow, that is so exciting. Hey, listeners, what we as leaders know to be true is that change is constant. Change is incredibly scary, especially the unknown and the unfamiliar territory. It's time to adapt in our fast-moving world when leadership is changing. Hey, look out for the episodes as they're being released. Download them, have a listen, put a review and a rating. Share them with your friends, your family, your network. If there's any feedback you'd like to give me about the show, or if there's a question you want me to ask my guests as I interview them, or if you've got a question for the Ask Denis Freestyle episode, feel free to send me a message or an email, dennis@leadingchangepartners.com. If you haven't already checked out the Facebook or the LinkedIn group or LinkedIn page, look forward to seeing you there on the Leadership is Changing side of things. Thanks for tuning in today. Until next time, bye for now.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Leadership is Changing with your host, Denis Giannoutsas. Each week, we and our guests provide information and insights through exploring leading change, inspiring executives and leaders to adapt and lead a bigger game in a fast-moving world.